We call on our paternal ancestors.
The African connection with yoga, and that we can actually break it down and demystify it.
Yeah, it's a pretty deep question even from the beginning to even ask that one, because we're really talking about the brain.
We practice a vegan lifestyle, but it was considered vegetarian.
Kemetic legacy is part of their legacy, part of their ancestry, and that, the first scholars, the first writers, artists, mathematicians, scientists.
The first 100 years of this third millennia is the century of a consciousness awakening to who we are.
Just wrap my mind around the reality of that statement as being very accurate.
We eat from the foods that the Creator has brought up through the earth, which is a vegetarian diet. And in this diet, and with this breath, we have the power to have physicals that are remarkable throughout our lives.
Greetings, greetings, greetings. My name is Omiale Jube, and it is my honor to open this portal of communication to bring forth this awesome production. We begin by pouring libation to soften the ground, to call forth the spiritual energies to join us on this day. We begin with calling in the one, the all, by any name you choose, divine source, the creator. We welcome all of the spiritual energies to join us today, all those that have our highest good in mind. We call on the Netaru, the Orisha, the archetypes. We call on the ascended masters from all the cultures all across the world. We call on the angels of 100% pure light across all time and space. And we call on our ancestors, those upon whose shoulders we stand. Please join me in calling out their names. We call out our maternal ancestors. Call their names. Our mothers and grandmothers and great-grandmothers. We call on our aunts and our sisters and our nieces and our friends. We call on our sheroes. Call them out. Call out their names so they can hear you and join us today. We call on our paternal ancestors. Call them out. Our fathers and grandfathers and great-grandfathers. We call on our uncles and brothers and nephews and our heroes. We call out the names of all those known and unknown that come before us. For we are our ancestors and our ancestors are us. We call on the energies of the East. We call on the energies of the West. We call on the energies of the North and the South. We call on the energies from below. Mother Earth, asking her to bring up her energy from her crystal core to join us today. We call on the energy of the sun to shine down upon this production and stimulate our melanin as it continues to grow the essence of life. And we call on the energy from within. We ask for blessings for this production. We ask that this production travel far and wide, that it may fall on the masses, the hearts and minds of the masses, so that their ears may be open to hear, and their eyes may be sharpened to see the vision, and their minds open to new horizons, and their hearts warmed to take in the knowledge, embrace the truth. We give blessings to the producers of this production. We give blessings to all of the participants, the panelists, and to all those whose hands came together to bring this production to fruition. It is our time. As we come into this new time, this new age of Aquarius, this new cycle, we go back to the future, back to our ancient knowledge, back to our ancient knowledge. It is time. It's time for us all to rise. Mother Earth is rising, as she rises to her rightful place as a fifth dimensional planet. May we all rise with her. Rise from within. And with that, in the ancient tradition of Mother Africa, I would like to ask permission to officially begin the production. So to all the elders out there, may we have your permission to begin. And please join me in saying, Ashe, Ashe, Asheo. Sante Sana.
Chapter 4, the history of Kemetic Yoga. This brings it home for us. In our practice of Kemetic Yoga, we learn about our history. We learn about proper diet. We learn about the power of words in our physical self. And through the practice of Kemetic Yoga, we are able to better our lives and bring everything that is presented in this documentary into full circle.
So the understanding of the Kemetic yoga system came from certain postures. And these postures were introduced to myself when I went to the Museum of Natural History and they brought the artifacts of King Tut. They brought his artifacts from his grave site to the museum in 1978. And we literally saw the forms carved in furniture. So when we saw the pose, there was a deja vu. In my third eye relived the pose as if I had done it yesterday. So when we came home from the museum that evening, I was so anxious because I saw myself running the form like in 3 dimensions. So I started running the form in my living room that evening after coming from the museum. And it was that form and some of the other forms that is what I first started teaching to the students in our classes. That's when we shifted from the Indian yoga system into the Kemetic yoga system. Now, when I first started teaching Yasir, he was a student at the University of Illinois.
Yasir came up under Hapi, and a lot of Yasir's direction is, I would say, divinely inspired.
Master Yasir, well, I call him Daddy. That's my daddy.
So when I started teaching him, he was a committed student. He came to all the classes, and so he became one of the students that became seasoned enough and skilled enough for me to pass on the reins of teaching the system. His commitment is what allowed me to see it is now time to pass this knowledge on to the larger community. And I entrusted him with that knowledge. I said, it is now time for you to teach it and take it to the community, take it to the world.
I practiced yoga with my teacher, Dr. Hapi, for about 1 or 2 years. He sort of asked me to teach classes and carry on the mantle of being the primary person pursuing what we would call Egyptian yoga then. So I would go to class, and then I would practice the whole day. I would practice in the dance studio in front of the mirror. I would practice yoga all day long, 8 hours. When I got home, I would do another 4 hours. So every day I would practice at least 8 to 12 hours a day. And people, oftentimes, they tell me, oh, that's a long time, or how could you do that, and so on and so forth. But all the artists that I know great artists, martial artists, musicians, visual artists, who have achieved a high level of efficiency and success in their field, all of them, they paint for 12 hours a day. They practice their martial arts for 8 to 12 hours a day. They play in their horn for 8 to 12 hours a day. That's what those who choose to become masters in what they're doing, that's what they do. I approximate that we have about 2,000 students around the world who have become certified instructors. So we have certified instructors from the northern reaches of Canada all the way to New Zealand, South America, Central America, the Caribbean, Europe, so on and so forth. So we have about 2,000 people who have become certified. And with that, to my calculations, I feel like we probably have touched millions of people with Kemetic yoga.
I think his work is profound. I think it demonstrates super commitment, and I think that he had the patience to deal with individuals who were not as developed.
30 years ago, I decided to use the term Kemetic yoga because I felt that Egyptian yoga. When you say Egypt, you think about contemporary Egypt. You think about, the place which is Egypt now. You don't really think about ancient Egypt. And so sometimes I would say ancient Egyptian yoga, but eventually I started to use the term Kemetic yoga because I felt it was important for our community to learn to use, to learn what Kemet is. Kemet means the black land. Some people say it means the land of the blacks. And we felt that the majority of people in our community wasn't going to be able to relate to these Eastern type of religions and these Eastern type of spiritual practices. And so we felt that by, doing the research to show that there was an African connection with yoga and that we can actually break it down and demystify it so that, regular people in our community can understand it and relate to it. And then it'd be easier for them to take advantage of actually doing the practice because they can see it in the context that this is something that comes from us, not something that comes from a foreign culture.
Kemetic yoga, more specifically for me, has helped me to become more calm in my thinking, more relaxed in my body. A lot of times, people are super stressed and they don't even know it. Shoulders be up in their ears. They squeeze every part of their body. They're just holding body parts because of the stress, of the trauma. And Kemetic yoga helps using the breath to release and relax the body. It helps to open up the different joints, open up different parts of your body so that healing can take place, so that whatever that stress is caused by can start to move away. It helps to control your thinking. It helps to alleviate pain and discomfort in your body. It helps to align you with your spiritual self, with the self of you that is moving towards the destiny that you have.
We have to find ways to understand by tuning in. That's why yoga is so important. That's why the whole philosophy of understanding who we are by eating the right foods, keeping the right mental balance in terms of our thoughts. I studied the brain, so for me, I think the brain is the most elaborately constructed entity in the universe. So when people are meditating, you're really, and not just meditating, but doing yoga in the midst of that, you're aligning your body. So as you align your body, you're aligning yourself with nature. So from the spinal cord all the way up to the brain, and they got the base, your gonads for women, the ovaries, men, just the testes, but chemicals are all through our body. So how do you tap into that?
Like I said before, a lot of people are trying to get on their spiritual journey. So when they come to yoga skills, the benefits that they receive are 1, physical, 2, mental. It helps to relieve the stress and trauma. It helps to relieve the negative thoughts, the negative energy that you may have received from being at work or dealing with your family or, trying to figure out who you are. It puts you back in balance. It puts you in alignment with your true self.
It starts there, but it's influenced by outside forces. And that's why I'm saying most people get caught up by allowing the outside forces dictate their reality. That's why you have to tune out sometimes of the outside world and tune in. Yoga does that. Meditation does that. How many people do yoga? How many people meditate? And might be why they have a problem in the world.
And is able to help people from any aspect of life. If you're a senior and you have different physical disabilities, a good practice of Kemetic yoga, a consistent practice, maybe long-term practice of Kemetic yoga will help to increase mobility, will help to decrease the discomforts that a lot of us feel, arthritis, sciatica, different ailments that we sometimes don't know what it's from. But even cancer patients, we have people from all walks of life and all backgrounds that have different ailments that they use Kemetic yoga for. It's a one-stop shop because it's not just about the physical practice, it's a lifestyle.
Kemetic yoga has helped with my physical, mental, and spiritual development. It put me on a path of remembrance. Through practice, I'm reconnected to my greatness and see every part of my body as divine.
The principles about what Kemetic yoga is about, what it exists for, and the purpose of healing. And truly, you get all the time in the world to heal and go through your own transformative journey.
3 years ago that I trained with Baba Yassir here in Jamaica, and they had really always studied different types of yoga, Hatha, Kundalini, and even like certified in them, but I was always finding that I was missing where the root was, the African root.
A movement practice. We are literally doing energy work. And just using our bodies as a vehicle for that energy work. It is a deeply spiritual practice, and it's something that I really see as a practice that helps us move towards liberation. And that's why I practice it. That's why I teach it. That's why it's so integral to my life and my journey. So definitely one of the best decisions that I've made in my life.
Students, when they start to study Kemetic yoga, we take them deep into the science of it. So we understand, what do these symbols represent? What do these concepts represent? How do they relate back to the person? Because ultimately, what is yoga? It is a system of self-development. And so we look at everything from a self-development perspective, because if you don't have control over your own thoughts, your own emotions, you're not going to have the willpower, you're not going to have the drive to, and the ability to control your own thoughts and your own emotions, right? So when you control your body, that allows you to control your thoughts and your emotions. And that's part of the self-mastery. So self-mastery is not just being able to do different positions, because some people are really flexible. They can do all kinds of things, right? But self-mastery is when you move yourself from a point of being really, really stiff, and you move yourself to a high level of being able to perform the various movements and postures, but with the intention that I am doing this for the fact that the skills that I learned on the mat, I'm going to translate them and transfer them into my everyday life. So in order for me to master my movements and postures, I have to master my thoughts and my emotions. And so that means I have to learn how to be patient. Because when I'm trying to, it took me 2 years, for example, to do the lotus position. I could have gave up and I could have said, well, this is impossible. But I had to learn patience. I had to learn the skills of, I call them yoga skills, patience, perseverance, concentration, focus for an extended period of time. When you have to learn those things in order to do your yoga practice, you should then demonstrate those things in your everyday life. So you should be more patient and have perseverance with your family, with your children, on your job, in your profession, with other people that's around you. You should have that same lovingness towards yourself when it comes to not being judgmental against yourself, when it comes to not being angry with yourself and being patient with yourself. Because most of the time we sabotage ourselves because we become angry, we become impatient. We often think, well, you should be doing this and you should be further along, or you should be better, and so on and so forth, or it's taking you too long to do X, Y, and Z. And we sort of punish ourselves either consciously or subconsciously. And so, so on the mat, we're learning these various skills. So self-mastery is the key. When to become a master, you have to master yourself.
I'm Jill Menard, founder of Yoga House in Houston, Texas. You see, whether on the mat or off the mat, Kemetic yoga for me has been and is an awakening. It's an awakening that I place in the category celebration of life. I thank you, Master Yasir Rahotep, for resurrecting the practice of Kemetic yoga. Thank you very much. I love you, brother. Peace.
When we both stepped into Yasir Rahotep's class for the first time, I mean, it was just pretty amazing. And I would say we knew then that we had to share this with other people.
Yeah, absolutely. And this journey has been beautiful.
When I came into this knowledge through Master Yasir Rahotep, I realized that I had been breathing incorrectly for my entire life.
I started practicing Kemetic yoga in 1996, and it's been a great way to make physical all the wonderful things I've learned about ancient Egyptian philosophy, and to really make it physical, and to not just leave it in the theoretical. And we are very thankful for Yasir Rahotep and Dr. IP for bringing it to us.
We have so many dedicated people who have been touched by the feeling, the energy that they get through practicing Kemetic yoga. So they feel the difference between Kemetic yoga and the yoga that they had been doing in the past. They can feel that this connects me with my ancestors. This connects me with the internal energy that I have. This connects me with my breath, with my life force. This is not just stretching the back, stretching the spine, stretching the hamstrings, or trying to get the yoga butt. This is about really integrating mind and body and spirit. And so an aspect of yoga that we think we achieve is that we do get that connection with the ancestors. As African people and as Black people, period, and most Native people, there's a belief that our ancestors exist, that our ancestors are the spirits of those who came before us, who are still alive, who are still in, they're still alive. That's on the spirit, in the spirit world. And so we can connect with them, we can communicate with them, and they can give us guidance, and they can also affect our lives. They can actually affect the material conditions around us from the spirit world, right? So we got to get into a whole lot of metaphysics to understand, what that concept is. But when people do Kemetic yoga, they feel this connection. They feel a closer connection and a greater ability to make that connection with their ancestors, with their spirit guides, and with the divine forces of nature.
My motivation is just to really inspire, to bring light, to bring awareness. And that's my motivation. I really want to see those around me uplifted and moved into a place of consciousness that is of a perpetually spiritually enforced design of being in it, but not of it.
Variation is broadest in African people. We must be involved in this science. I claim the science for self-discovery and self-discovery for being able to be all that we are created to be. And when we move into that way of thinking, all that we have been, certainly in terms of the history books, it pales in comparison to all that we can become. And that's the future that I would like our students and our generation to that the genome is saying, you haven't seen anything yet. You getting all excited about your ancestry. Hey, this genome is about your destiny. It's all that's already preloaded. You made in my image. You are naturally supernatural.
My motivation is to know more today than I knew yesterday. I love education. I love, I've been going to school for so many years. There was a point where people would tease me and say, all you do is go to school. I have my bachelor's, my master's, my doctorate, and now I'm getting a second master's, focusing on public health. And I love it so much because it's so much different than what I've learned before. So it gives me an opportunity to learn a completely different field. So the opportunity to learn, to grow, and to share the information that I have with others, that motivates me. The opportunity to help people feel good about themselves and to know that we didn't come from a downtrodden, slave race. That's not who we are. That we are so much more, that we are so much greater. Every day I learn something new, and I'm grateful for what I learned. So my motivation is education and teaching and learning and producing the best form of myself.
My motivation is to, one, stay alive, and two, get my freedom. And my freedom to me means being able to do what makes me happy. Kemetic yoga makes me happy, not just practicing it for myself, but teaching it to other people. I'm motivated because it feels good, and it's my liberation and helping people to know that they too can be themselves is a part of what we do. So I guess that's a part of my motivation too, to let people know that they can be who they are without conforming to any specific something.
So my motivation is seeing our community restore. That's my motivation. Seeing not just our athletes, but our elders. That's the mission I am on. That is the full level of the research. To restore our elders, to bring our youth forward where they bring the power in, where they live within the power, where they walk with their ankhs, my sister. Walk with their keys of life. Know what that key really means, that it opens the two doors to life.
To have influence on those who are, I guess, not just looking at me, not following me, but respecting me. So if I have a path to follow, a path to go on, I can then have people say, oh, no, that's the path I would like to go on. When you ask about maybe intellectual scholars, and it's like, well, who did you follow? Who did you? It's a kind of a difficult question. But when I look at people's work, like Frantz Fanon's work as a black psychiatrist coming from France, I didn't come from France, I'm not a psychiatrist, but his work, Black Skin, White Mask, Toward the African Revolution, Dying Colonialism, his last book, Wretched of the Earth, man, what he did to change the world, that's a path. So for me, when you say motivation, hey, I study and learn, like we all should, because we don't stop learning. Now, how can I now find that path where I can continue to learn and impact others around me?
Yeah, my motivation is that I want to see Kemetic yoga become something that is very accessible to people, that whether they use the term Kemetic yoga or not, that people who practice yoga really start to understand what yoga really is, that it is not just flexibility or physical movements and posture that you do for fitness, that it is a spiritual practice. It is a practice for your whole inner self-development. And so my goal is to allow Kemetic yoga to become recognized around the world. So that's what I do.
Seek and you shall find the answer, the meaning, your purpose. Know that healing is intentional and starts from within. Healing yourself is a process. Intentionally allow yourself to be healed from within. Ground yourself. Feel the earth beneath you. Breathe in deeply. Exhale and release. Ground yourself. Become one with the almighty power. Align your mind, body, and spirit. Become free. Liberate your being. Breathe in balance, peace, and harmony. Allow yourself the opportunity to live and experience life in all of its fruits, from the tree